Our last game of our last day of a regular season here at the NAL. Welcome back, everyone, with M80 against SSG, the undefeated team of the current second stage of the NAL versus the number one from stage one. This is going to be quite the interesting game because SSG here has a chance to knock down M80 a peg.
They do, but as for M80, the biggest thing here is to just solidify their dominance throughout the stage, get the win here, and then on the sides of SSG to just dethrone that win streak, to say the least, and then also for them to climb up in the ladder to be sitting in third to look at their opponent of DZ.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough one for SSG, but M80, on the other hand, this roster has been phenomenal. They haven't dropped a single map throughout these best of ones, and they are just so locked in.
Yeah, I mean, we heard him in the interview yesterday where everything seems to be working for them. Even when rounds feel like they're man down, they're still able to pull rounds out of thin air. Their confidence and their momentum up in this point has really been amazing, and every single player on the team has been performing exceptionally well. They have about 4 players within the top 10 of the league, wow, and Gavin is in 11. So that's all 5 players within the top 11. You could just see by the stats. Everyone is firing on all cylinders. But what I love is the utility of their operators. Look at that. Not a single operator that doesn't bring utility. And that's all the name of the game when it comes to M80 is utility, utility, utility. Just using it as much as possible. They've been able to make it work. It took a little bit of time throughout stage 1 to now. They didn't go to EWC, but now finally it's all clicking. They have everything set up that they need, and they're able to entry with these operators as well. And then when they get into position, they have all the utility they could possibly need.
I mean, the real test is like approaching here for the side of M80 because now that you're done with these best of ones, we're heading into playoffs. That's when the pressure really is on. And M80 is not necessarily known historically as a team that is comfortable dealing with that kind of pressure.
Nah, the pressure on their shoulders never really works out. I mean, even when we were on the team with Kino is a player that always has a little bit of a tough time when it comes to pressure. This was their stage 1 in obviously their stage 1 playoffs. They ended up beating OXG to go one step closer, lose to Shopify, lose to SSG. So obviously it's very unfortunate for them that time to get knocked out when they were so close, one game away. Every game went the distance, but unfortunately the pressure got to them. They crumbled, and it didn't look like the same M80, but also it's not the same M80 here because they're way more comfortable. Players like Gunnar and Gavin have seen so much success on this new role. They're feeling a lot more comfortable, and the whole team is really playing all together.
Which is like the complete opposite side of the story for SSG Lax, because if there is one roster that is gonna do great under pressure, that has that mentality, that has that fortitude, it is SSG.
Oh, it's definitely Crank Station, to say the least. And, you know, the big thing for me when I'm looking at this roster throughout this stage, there were a lot of hiccups in the beginning. We were giving them praise in the beginning. They were the best in the league. They ran the league towards the very end. They made that playoff run. Fact of the matter is they did fall off. But the key thing, especially from being a former player, is once you start hitting these hurdles, you start running into these walls, the important thing is you are fixing it before playoffs, and that's exactly what we're seeing from game after game. We said this was going to be hell week for them, given their opponents, given it was Dark Zero, given them though it was going to be Shopify Rebellion, and now M80. Fact of the matter is they are winning every single game, and it's based off their aggression. They said they're going back to what was comfortable for them, and that's where their aggression is shining and why we're even seeing them in the position that they currently are.
And everything still matters, obviously. Both these teams still make it into top 6, but that being said, M80's playing for first place. SSG is playing for third place. Whoever's in third place at the end of the day will be going up against Dark Zero first round in the playoffs, and the one that's in 4th place will be playing wild card. So again, you have to beat everybody once you get to the playoffs, but at the end of the day, the easier road towards that finish line is always going to be the one that you want to take. So that being said, there's a lot to play for SSG because you want to be able to play against a weakened Dark Zero.
Yeah, but all roads do lead to Rome. Hopefully that is the finals, and Munich specifically this time around, because that's where every single one of these teams wants to head forward to. But for SSG's side of things, I'm quite impressed with the fact that they were able to really crank it up this week, because as you already touched upon, Lax, this was their most difficult week yet, and throughout the regular stage, they didn't look that strong.
Yeah, of course. And I think, you know, again, the biggest thing is they want to go back to where they thrived as we've known SSG for the longest, and that's their aggression. And it's one of two things, you know, when you're looking at this matchup is, yes, it doesn't change too much in terms of them them getting into first and second. They're already locked in, but it's an opportunity here, like I said, to treat this game as a game day scrim. Whether you're bringing out a new map here to just test the waters, maybe show something before going into playoffs, maybe just not want to go into playoffs with a certain play in mind so you can get everything tested here, because as we know, game day reps are far more important than scrim day reps. So there's many areas where we can just see SSG really use this as another stepping stone to just enhance and elevate their play, even for players like Benja, even for players like NJR, just to try something different before heading into playoffs where they really have to dial in and there really can be no excuses made going into those.
And it's refreshing to see them have so much success in the hardest week of the regular stage, because there was a ton of little mistakes that they were making versus the easier teams. The thin line of aggression can go from over-aggression individually to over-aggression altogether. And it's a very thin line that SSG teeters on. But when they play against the better teams, we can see how they lock in and they try to minimize the amount of mistakes.
And if you remember, when they did play against M80 last stage, that was back and forth. That was constant aggression, just feeding one right after the other. And where M80 got the upper hand is when they slowed down, and that's when SSG then over-aggressed. They couldn't find their footing anymore. They were getting discombobulated in some of those rounds. So it's good to say, whatever map we land on here, I'm sure it's going to be a slugfest.
Yes, and that's exactly what I want to head into next, the map veto, because this is probably going to be the most exciting game of today, or maybe the most exciting game of all of Super Week. Not necessarily because of the fact that the standings are so important, but these both teams are just going to go just headbutting against each other on Skyscraper.
Do you want to take it or want me to take it?
You could do it first.
I mean, I think this is going to play similar to exactly where we saw that conflict, where we saw that bloodbath happen, where that aggression was constantly being met from the second you enter that building to just even try to take the site. It's going to be the same thing here with Skyscraper. I mean, we saw one side of M80s, they absolutely dominated their opponent, which was Envy. And then on the other side, it didn't really look too great. Their attacks weren't great for SSG. Their defenses weren't great. They only won one round on defense, one round on attack versus Cloud9. But again, two different opponents, two different ideologies in how they approach it. Similar in terms of aggression, but the important key factor is who's going to be able to reel that back in
100%.
and slow it down when the other's over-aggressing and being able to capitalize and pounce on top of that.
I mean, that's one thing for M80 is they can reel it back in. They can play defensively. They can play behind that utility that they've been perfecting all throughout the stage. And we know SSG, when it comes to playing slow, they've even said in interviews that it's not necessarily their strong suit, it's one of their weaker areas. So when they're starting on defense for Skyscraper, you have to hope that, yes, you can play a little aggressive, but you need to know that if it's not working in the gunfights, if you're losing that initial opening pick, you got to be able to fall back. And SSG is not known for playing utility operators when it comes to defense.
And that's what I'm worried about, is because they're fixing it and going into their old aggressive state. So then it's a mental hurdle of like, okay, now how do we shut that off to then fall back to our old ways of being a little more passive? It's going to be a tough mental game, I think, for SSG.
Does the map pick, however, by any way, shape, or form influence your predictions when it comes to who we think is going to be winning this?
I was feeling M80 was going to win, but honestly, with SSG starting defense, with how they are, if M80 cannot fight them head-on when it comes to those entries and they don't get those opening picks, I could see SSG getting a 5-1-1/2 on defense, so I'm going to stick with SSG.
I think that's the biggest thing for me here, is where we saw them fail against Cloud9 for SSG, is they weren't playing that trade game, and they're absolutely going to need to be playing a trade game for M80. So I'm sticking with M80, but if the trade game is there, I'm not surprised if SSG takes the win here.
All right, I guess we'll see how this one's going to play out. Our final game of Super Week, final game of the regular stage, and it's a banger because it's SSG against M80, and we're ready to head over to our casters in Taro and Lynx.
Well, Lynx, it appears that we have a house divided, as we've got one M80 enjoyer and one SSG fan colliding. I think we're going to have what is scheduled to be our best match of the day, and it's kind of funny to say that because there's really not an awful lot on the line here. M80 would love to take back first overall in the standings. Spacestation have an opportunity to climb a little bit upwards, but that is really it, which for these teams and these players, I suppose, can mean an awful lot. But in the grand scheme of things, and in comparison to all of our other matches today, this one really doesn't mean as much.
No, but I think we can all appreciate and just get behind some good Siege. Though, I say that we're also on Skyscraper.
No, sorry, I only like bad Siege.
Oh, well, hey, that's good, because we're on Skyscraper.
Wow, great joke.
All right, that made me feel bad.
Well, I don't want to make you feel bad. And I was going to actually be a little bit self-deprecating and say, I love Bad Siege. Have you ever watched my streams? And then you could say, No, and then I would feel bad.
I have watched your streams.
I'm aware,
But
it
to the point.
erodes my argument and the joke.
To the greater point of what we're talking about, no, these are two very good teams, and you talk about a house divided. I'm honestly a person divided right now, because like this is very much a brain versus heart kind of thing. Because brain like says M80, SSG are still a very inconsistent team, not only just generally in terms of their vibe for the past 2 to 2.5 years, but also just in terms of their playstyle, as the desk mentioned. They started bringing in that aggression again, then they kind of have, SSG have always had an issue reeling that in. So brain says M80.
Attackers have located
At the same time, the heart always says SSG, because every time I start to count them out, they start doing the craziest things ever and winning matches that I didn't think they'd win and making runs I didn't think they could make. Then when I finally start believing, they cease doing all of that.
10 seconds.
So I guess where I am right now is I'm just going to give myself over to the experience. We have M80, we have SSG, two very good teams. M80 in this case, one of the top 2 teams going into the playoffs. And I'm just going to sit back, give myself over to the experience, try to have a good time.
M80 is the last remaining undefeated team. They have 2 wins in overtime, but they have yet to lose a match. Now, when we go to best of 3, there will be 2 things on the line. Number 1, do you lose a match? And number 2, do you lose a map? Because for best of 1s, those are the same thing. For best of 3s, those are not. How impressive a feat it would be for M80 to go without losing a map in that playoff position. SSG's been on a bit of a tear. They were on the outside looking in just a couple weeks ago, a couple play days ago, and they have leveled up. I think people were sleeping on them a little bit. This is, after all, the Stage 1 championship roster.
Oh.
And M80 is just going to decide to take no prisoners. Into the bomb site they go, hot and cold at the halfway point of the diffuser. Down goes Newers. SSG might be scrambling to deal with this. Gunner, the first kill on the side of M80. Hot and cold is in, hot and cold is out. Excellently played. And now 9 players still alive. The round shortened from 2 minutes and 10 seconds left down to 30 seconds. Gunner's just waiting for those fire arrows to go down. What do you even do if you're Space Station at this
I
point?
don't know.
Every single player of M80 is positioned there. They're just going to fire you out. They're going to shoot you out. There you go. 14 seconds. You got to wait for that Capitao fire to go away. Foltz gets on the board with a pick on Nikino, but there are still 8 players alive. And the round is over. 8 players still alive. M80 wins. A stunning first round and something that we have never seen at this level in North America.
That's what I'm talking about with M80, though. Like, this is a team that is very well calculated and has a really, really good game plan. Every bit of utility, every position there was exactly where it needed to be. The Amaru goes in right off the back of the smoke. Not only do they catch SSG off guard, and I actually am curious where Janino threw that first toxic canister. Because I don't know if M80 faked a different position or if Janino was distracted. Either way, smoke doesn't land in front of Hot and Cold until he's already put the diffuser down. And then M80 had the best post-plant positions. We've got a guy watching the black window, the bottom black window. We have the Capitao firebolts on the window, but pulled just enough back where he's not actually exposed to anybody like taking a fight on the window, so there's nothing it can do. We've got a guy watching the Geisha run out as well to make sure that nobody gets peeked from that side. It was perfect play from M80 and a really, really good and exciting start on a map that honestly is 1, difficult to attack, and 2, usually very boring. I really appreciate that.
5 seconds remaining.
8 players still alive when the round ends.
Locate a bomb and defuse it.
I mean, like, what are you gonna do if you're SSG at that point? Like, there's literally, it's not just there's nothing you can do. It's like M80 all weren't even giving them the opportunity to get a gunfight.
I am curious if there are any other rounds that have actually ended with 8 players still alive. It's stunning.
It actually, I'd have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure we did have a round or 2 like that in SAL this past weekend, but it is extremely rare, just to be clear.
Wild stuff and a good read by M80. Fett has been singing the praises of his former team quite a lot, and I mean, I think a lot of it is the players themselves, but I do think coaching plays a big role as well. Fabian is settling in with this team. It's taken him and the supporting staff a little bit of time to figure out how you get the best out of these players. Hot and cold, one of those players that has a long history at this level. He's gone through the wilderness a few times, but his resurgence, his renaissance has been fantastic to see. The Stevensance, as you can call it, gets J90. Yeah, I know you're cringing at that one.
Not cringing. I thought it was funny.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You seem lower energy than SSG in the previous round. Newers dies. Gunner kills him. A 5v3 for M80. They've taken no points of damage whatsoever. With the exception of Kino, I think it was, dying in that previous round. SSG's really not been able to find anything.
No, they haven't. Honestly, also just kind of strange that M80 have found everything by just taking a fight on the office wall. But hey, not going to complain about winning gunfights, especially when you've not really had to invest. I suppose they have invested quite a bit of utility. You've used all the Bs. But Kino wastes that C4. Excellent work from him. Rest of the Bs also spotting the players inside of swords. Aruni pushing in quite deep into A. This is going to be another not quick M80 attack in terms of how quickly into the round, but how quickly it begins and ends. The actual execute barely takes more than 10 or 15 seconds. You can again see how well thought out these attacks are from M80. Hot and Cold is only taking those engagements when he thinks he's got information on, well, when he thinks there's a gap, but also when he thinks and knows that there's information on that position. Gets Janino behind minibar. Already a very pivotal position taken down. You're likely going to attract one of the roamers back to the site because you can't let mini be like a position the attack can take for free. They can just walk in and fight anybody inside of the site. So now the roam isn't something you have to deal with. Now the defense has to fully focus on holding the site. And if everybody's on the site and you've already got one kill looking through the wall, you gotta, of course, be a little careful. But if you're able to throw some nades in, throw some Bs in, you can disrupt more of the defenders and push them in front of the hole in house wall, in front of the swords window, or in front of the minibar angle. M80 were basically stationary that whole round, but were very good at making the SSG players uncomfortable, forcing them to rotate in front of their angles, getting those kills, and then converting around off the top of it. 2 attacks in a row on Sky. They've already got the bare minimum. You could not wish genuinely for a better start.
Brutal time for a timeout now on the side of SSG, and it would be a bit of a frustrating end to a triumphant stage for the astronauts. The fact that they were able to make the comeback happen alone to get into the playoffs is not unheard of. But I mean, we were asking the question through the first couple play days, what the heck is going on with this roster? Wouldn't be the first time that a team has won a championship or won a stage or something along those lines and then had a massive regression. But SSG has been such an experienced team for so long. The core of this squad has been together for ages. And their system
10 seconds
that
to
they
go.
buy into and play around is, it's like it's been made worse between the finish of stage 1, which happened in July, if memory serves correctly, and then the beginning of this one, which started in September. I mean, there's
About that, yeah.
there's not enough that would lead me to think that, especially when you look at certain teams that had made minor improvements in their rosters, but really shouldn't be that much better. A team like Envy, for example, a team like Wildcard, a team like Cloud9. Like, I feel like on paper, SSG has a more experienced squad that should be higher in the standings based on what we saw from stage 1. So to see how they performed early in stage 2 was a bit of a shock, but I guess it was just a slow start while they had to acclimate to Denari and a whole host of other changes, and now here we are.
Well, it's also, again, a team whose play style, I mean, the crank meme is kind of, you don't want to belabor the point, but it's also still very consistently an element of their play, and it's inherently inconsistent, and it's been a factor in the team's play style for years, and so they're always the kind of team that can win the league and then suddenly have a really slow start despite a very, very limited gap between the last match they played and the beginning of stage 2. The attacks from M80, though, have been really good so far. Talk about a team that is bouncing back from an extremely disappointing stage 1 and a very disappointing playoffs. Now, obviously, flawless in the group stage, could continue to be so if they beat SSG today. SSG are not letting M80 get a rush this time around. Newers is sitting directly on the karaoke window, just making sure that nobody can play there. But again, M80's utility usage has been so good. That play right there, that is exactly how they won round 2. Spot a defender playing in an isolated position, dump utility on him, force him to rotate, get the kill once he does. That is what M80 have been doing every single one of these attacks and are continuing to do.
Now it's Ashen to go down at the hands of Gavin. SSG still struggling. That timeout not immediately paying off. M80 undefeated so far. They've gone to OT twice, but won both. A 3-0 start on Skyscraper would be a pretty nice feather in your cap for the remainder of this matchup. Skyscraper's only had a tiny play rate, and it has one of the most lopsided numbers that we've seen. 78% of the rounds won by the defenders.
Yeah, that sounds like Sky.
23 rounds have been played here in this stage. 18 of those 23 won by the defenders. That leaves a staggering 5 rounds won by the attackers. And my, oh my, M80 are changing that very quickly. Fultz and J90 now. They're the last two standing. J90's in the bomb site. Fultz is not. M80 still with 5 players alive as Kino's been picked back up. Resurrected from the dead. A nice crossfire. J90's gone. Fultz holding this long angle with the ACOG on the TCSG. He's over by Gold watching backstairs. It wasn't A that he had to worry about. It was that B bomb site. Karaoke being the Achilles heel for Space Station as now Fultz moves up. Diffuser in sight. And he dies to a track stinger to give a flawless round to M80. This is a very bizarre game so far. Today has been very bizarre across the board. And this match, which we hoped would be very competitive, has not quite lived up to that billing yet and has been pretty peculiar.
Well, I mean, it's been peculiar in that, like, it's crazy that we've had 3 rounds on Skyscraper attack and the attackers have only lost 2 players in 3 rounds. That just shouldn't really ever happen. But you also got to acknowledge that M80 are playing really well. Their positional analysis is excellent. If the moment they have in the past 3 rounds have seen a defender that is trapped in a corner or in front of an angle they're watching, they make the call extremely quick. Everybody commits to it. They've got all the right utility timed perfectly. I mean, we have the nade go in, which usually most teams, by the way, most teams just throw a nade there, force the guy to move, then try to get the kill. And if somebody did that, I wouldn't complain. That'd be fine. But then they also commit the firebolt on top of it. So either that guy's dying to the utility, losing a lot of HP to the firebolt if he gets out alive, but you've also got a guy on the window to take him down if he doesn't. On top of that, M80 are also looking mechanically sharp. Ashen walks around the corner, whips out that shield, and just immediately gets domed. I don't know if Ashen exposed himself to an angle or M80 just hit a nice shot. Who knows? Either way, M80 are not only playing well as a team, all of the players are winning their fights. Diffuser has only seen 2 people in 3 rounds. That is just how good and efficient the M80 are so far on the attacks. So, is it a peculiar game? Yes, but I also want to acknowledge M80 are playing particularly well.
Jammer ready.
It's almost perfect siege from what we've seen from these couple rounds.
Agreed.
Round number 1 didn't need to be flawless, but I mean, when you pull off a diffuse plant, when it's still all 5 and there's 9 people alive in the server, and then you just hold those angles and they just kill 1, which again was Kino. Don't really need to do too much. Round 2 obviously much closer, and then round 3 an absolute blowout. I'd be concerned if I was Space Station. Again, the stakes of this matchup are not as big as you would think. M80 just looking to regain first overall. Both of the top 2 teams get a bye, so OXG and M80 will not be playing in the upper bracket quarterfinals. They'll be in action in the upper bracket semis. We're starting to see the playoff picture unfold. I'm very eager to get those underway, and they will happen in October. So there's quite a break. long time until we see that. Oh my goodness. Benjamaster spent an awful lot of time on a Cav, sitting inside a bathroom, and immediately gets punished. Kino, the only one on the side of M80, taking some damage. Another great start from M80.
Setting up a sequential breach.
Yeah, and I get, like, on pure vibes why SG make a decision like that. But at the same time, M80 the past 3 rounds have made work of defenders playing by themselves in harder positions. SSG were betting on M80 making a mistake that they have actively not made for 3 rounds. Like, you're basically betting they won't drone them when M80 have been droning everything, have been communicating perfectly and placing utility and holding crossfires perfectly. All 3 of those are the recipe for shutting down Benja in that position, and that's what they've done in round 1, round 2, and round 3. mainly rounds 2 and 3, but still. So I get the vibe, like I get the broader vision. I just don't know if in this particular matchup that was ever going to be something that would work, and frankly, if it did, I would have been shocked.
Only 1 kill between all the remaining players of SSG, and there are still 4 of them alive. After losing Benja early in the round, there has been very little action. Beyond M80 getting into position to tee up on an execute. I would have loved to have seen what the Caveira could do.
Oh.
It's a nice pick by Fultz, as Gunnar does not drone out that position over by Drum. Allows Fultz to also move over to cover Geisha, which has been opened up. And he should be able to get hot and cold. Yes, he does. He hits the drive-by immediately. He's gone. J9O's been dropped. Newers is dead. What remained of Jack is gone. Swept into the dustbin of history. Ashen and Fultz, the 2 hopes for SSG, make that just Fultz, who's got both kills up to this point.
Wow.
They just fall by the wayside, Lynx. Immediately, M80 eliminates 3 of the 4 SSG players. And Fultz, with no information, will just have to play off of instinct. Diffuser in the hands of Kino. Fultz could potentially save the round, but Gavin hits him as he turns his attention towards the bomb site. And M80 are making this look so easy. SSG has barely put up a fight.
I really want to highlight what happened at the end there, because I think that is honestly the best example of why M80 have been so good this series so far. Because let's be honest, obviously, one, that's the closest round SSG have had, just empirically, that's true. But there's a few reasons for that. One, M80 were down to 0 drones by the end there. I mean, and that's why you see people just kind of walking into Fultz's crosshairs. M80 have dumped a lot of info, and then Gunnar doesn't know somebody's in drum. Hot and cold, lurking in front of Geisha, doesn't know anybody's holding that angle. But right at the end, what do we have again? A defender trapped in a corner, and M80 who need to figure out how to take him down. But this time, it's not like before. They don't have the full length of the round. They don't have full utility. All Gavin has is 2 flashbangs, and he doesn't really have enough time, if he's going to throw it through the door and through the rotate, which is the very smart play to do, to then walk in and take the fight without the defender probably having his vision again. So he Z-pings it, and Diffuser, from below, walks underneath the corner and with a pistol kills a defender through the floor. Where M80 before have used nades, Capital utility, and a bunch of different operators' primary utility to solve that same problem, that time it's secondary utility, a Z-ping, and a pistol through the floor to accomplish the same result. And that was a very close round and a very pivotal engagement. Even when things are hectic and chaotic and the utility's low, M80 are still problem-solving correctly. Like, this has been a really impressive attacking half, and the exact kind of thing you want to see going into playoffs.
M80 are like a fine wine. They just keep getting better the longer that you allow them to do that. And not that I'd be scared of them if I was on any team, because I'm not a competitor, but this is a formidable squad that at the present moment does not seem to have any major deficiencies. One person that we always kind of pointed to was Kino, but that's largely because of his role. Gunnar also had some consistency issues, but it seems like they've shored up those weaknesses as of late. M80's now just waiting for the call as we hit the 1 minute mark. Newers is taking quite a lot of damage. Down goes Benjamaster, shotgun in hand. Now the smoke of J9O will fall. Fultz on the board. He's been the saving grace of this SSG team. He's got 4 of their 5 kills through 5 rounds. An absolutely absurd number as now he tries to play peekaboo. Aquino shuts him down on Ashen's side of things. Newers and Fultz last 2 remaining. Wow. Newers still without a kill. You know, Lynx, I usually need to pay good money for this level of domination.
Well, thankfully M80 decided to give it to you for free today. And honestly, what a show they are putting on for us. I mean, even there, it's a very simple take. We've seen that plenty of times. You flashbang the guy on black stairs, you hold the top to make sure he can't run up from the doorway, and then you try to send somebody in below with the shotgun. Except there, I don't know it. Here, hold on. Let me watch in the replay. How does he go down? Okay, so he does go down to the shotgun. I wasn't sure because Diffuser was flashbanged a bit. I couldn't see if he hit him with the shotgun. That's a crazy shot, by the way, that he hit on the second last player. But again, it's just M80 not doing anything like super new.
Bomb located.
Now, I've seen that Amaru strat plenty of times, but the flashbangs are timed perfectly. They're holding the top to make sure that he can't rotate off, and then Diffuser goes in at the right time. Now, to be fair, there's also still a bit of luck. You know, sometimes when you're blind like that, you whiff the shotgun shots, or Janano gets lucky. That quick peek he hit on top black, you're not going to hit that every day of the week, even as good as Diffuser is. But this is still M80 playing exceptionally well at the moment. And, I mean, you know, let's be honest. Are, like, SSG playing great? No. But maybe it's just because I've been so focused on the strengths of M80 that I haven't noticed the weaknesses of SSG. I can't really put, like, something that they're obviously doing wrong. They've been bringing a lot of the right tools. They haven't been overextending from anything I've seen. There's nothing obvious to me that SSG are fumbling on. Like, M80 really are just playing that good.
By the way, I'm nowhere near clever enough to come up with that kind of line on my own. That was lifted, I think I paraphrased it. I don't think it was a direct quote from James Bardolph when he was casting a Counter-Strike game, and it was very lopsided, and he said that, and it was something that stuck in my mind. Truth be told, I don't even remember if I was a caster when I heard that line. That's how old that clip is.
I was going to say, back when Bardolph was casting CS consistently, like, that was...
Yeah. I don't even know if I was a caster at that point. Yeah. I'd have to go back, but...
Ooh.
One more round for SSG to try to get on the board. One thing I wanted to say is, we do joke every now and then about saving strats, but if Space Station feels like not showing anything and just accepting where they finish is the real play here, then there is something to be said that maybe they just don't care about the result. It's possible, right? Like, if Space Station don't want to reveal any strats and go to a map that they don't show all the time, and they're like, you know what, whatever, if we finish in the place we finish in, that's fine. Let's not bother giving anything up. Let's not give our opponents anything to VOD review, etc. Or inversely, they VOD review Skyscraper and go, wow, this is what they do. And then Skyscraper comes out again and Space Station actually plays it very differently. That could give you the leg up. Not that I want to don a tinfoil hat or anything along those lines. It's just something to consider. Because this game does obviously have consequences, but not as many as you'd think. Diffuser getting the first pick. SSG has been in a downward spin here and have been on the wrong side of first bloods far too frequently. Diffuser does get traded out by Newers, who breaks that goose egg, gets on the board. And now it's Gunner to contend with Benja, who's tucked into the corner. A slow peek. Benja wins that duel. Gunner was prepared for it, but a great swing by Benja. And SSG has something that they haven't had much all this game, and that's a numbers advantage.
Yeah, M80 have got the opening picks, 6 times in a row, and yet now it's the first time they really are, as you said, in that numbers advantage. Kino not going through the main wall, instead going through the mini bar. Taps J9O, down goes Newers 2. Do M80 still win this? Kino just backing off the angle. Fultz walks into the crosshairs. A 6-0 has suddenly entered M80's lap, hot and cold in the prime position to move us into the post, and Benjamaster on 1 HP. M80 guarantee themselves 23 points. And while they might not be first in the NAL for the moment, a 6-0 half on attack on Skyscraper. They're closing this one out in regulation, and I don't feel all that bold in making the call.
You think it's over? You think we even bother to play that round?
No, I think we just shut it off here.
Just close it up here.
It's been a really good night, guys. Had a great time. Thank you for watching. See you later.
No.
That was a joke. That was a bit.
I mean, it really has been a terrific start by M80. Again, I will cite those numbers. Only 5 attacking round victories prior to this Skyscraper. M80 has done even better by themselves. They got 6 rounds on attack.
Also,
yes.
Guess how many M80 deaths have, well, I guess you're about to see the numbers, so you can just do the math, but I was about to ask you a question, but yeah, you can just see it in front of you.
So Fultz had 4 kills, and they had, so at the midway point of round 5, they had 5 kills. Fultz had 4 of them, and now they have 7. So not much better. I don't know if it's a masterclass by M80. I also do need to wonder if SSG is quite literally just realizing.
No, it's not that.
You don't think so?
No, it's not that. You don't get a 6-0 from a team just not trying. Like that's just not how the game works ultimately. Because like look at it this way, right? If a team's not trying, there's not trying strategically, right? Like not running strats. But ultimately, they still got to play the game, right? They still got to navigate the positions. They still have to communicate. And those are things that M80 aren't going, or teams aren't suddenly going to like get some groundbreaking information because SSG hold a crossfire properly, right? Or because Newers gets out of a position when he doesn't. The real thing that teams are looking for is, okay, how is this guy like, how are SSG like running these strats? How are they playing these positions? But the fundamentals, while definitely sometimes a bit, you know, like all right for SSG, those aren't things that they're not going to try because that's just playing the game. M80 ultimately are reading the game extremely well. And while SSG, don't get me wrong, to your point, SSG are just running very default skyscraper strats. Like this is just, if you put any team running their defenses, I wouldn't be able to tell you who it was. So I do think you have a point there, but you don't get a 6-0 from a team not trying.
I have a point. You know who doesn't? SSG right now. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I do like both of these teams very much, and it'll be exciting to see how they do battle in the playoffs should they meet one another. We'll still wait for the seeding to know which teams end up coming to blows because Space Station, well, wasn't locked into their position prior to this match starting. But as you can see, I don't think there's much hope here for them to gain even a single point, let alone 3. We did see 7 consecutive rounds won today already. It is within the realm of possibility that SSG could do the same, but not with the way that they are playing. Benjamaster strikes first, but M80 then doubles up. The defenders hitting their strides. Fultz with 4 kills. He's joined by Ashen and J90. Both still lack a single frag. Fultz has been great, but again, a lot of these kills have been impactless. It's been him trying to save the day, but ultimately not succeeding. Just a little over a minute left. Might we see one of very few 7-0s at the top level? M80 could pull it off.
Could very well pull it off. Had a disproportionate amount inside of the stage so far, but it also will not be the first 7-0 they've had on Skyscraper this year so far. When they lost 7-3 to Cruelty the next day, they came out in 7-0, I believe, C9 on this exact map. So definitely a map that I imagine teams might start banning against M80 a little more consistently with the success that they've had. Ooh, hot and cold vaulting right in front of Fultz. Won't work out at all. Diffuser with a nice kill as well. And a 7-0 very much on the cards. J90 so good in these 1vx's. And if anybody were to stop the 7-0, it would be J90. But even now, M80 are letting the fundamentals come through, not over-peaking, just playing the crossfire, and that is something you don't have to hide. M80 in our last game of the group stage, proving they might be the most threatening team in the NAL.
We've actually had a lot of 7-0s. I believe this is our 6th 7-0 this stage. A lot of them coming against 1 or 2 teams, but still, what was very rare previously has come to pass many times and will come to pass one more time. And what a fitting way to end the group stages. M80 will reclaim their throne atop the NA League with a 7-0 victory, and that'll conclude the groups. Let's hear what the desk has to say about our final day of matches after this break.
Wait, let's one VIP.
Just play for me. I have the off angle.
20 HP, 20.
I have the off angle of Doom.
Right, I'm off you. Okay, swing up, Leo.
It'll be in Sam, be on the bomb. See.
Yeah, this is my contact.
Oh!
Nice! Wow, good fucking shit, bro. Good job.
Like what?
Boom.
What a statement from M80 to end off the regular stage. Just, oh my god, I don't even know what else to say. This team has looked absolutely insane throughout the entirety of stage 2. I feel like the difference from stage 1 to stage 2, night and day. But we've spoken to every single one of the players. We haven't spoken to Fabian just yet, who I think this time around has agreed to do the interview. Put on some clothes. Thank you for that. Welcome, and of course also congratulations for this flawless regular stage that you guys have had. How has things been for you across the pond? You know, the jump from stage 1 to stage 2. What has been the biggest difference in terms of the prep and everything that's been going on behind the scenes to let the team be so successful?
I think there's quite a few of things, honestly, because this team, when I came into it, we all know the expectations that M80 has had on themselves as a team for, I mean, how many years? Everyone's always been saying, oh, M80 is going to win an event, M80 is going to win an event, and then we get this big change. We get in Matt and we get in, well, Gav, and it's going to be this amazing team straight away, right? But there's always going to be some growing pains. Some teams will have that honeymoon period where everything looks great. We had more growing pains. There's a lot of stress within the team, and I think that they put a lot of expectations on themselves, more so than what I would say that us in the staff or the organization would put on them. So they put so much expectations on themselves, and therefore we got stressed during matches, we fumbled during matches because the pressure got to them. Like, look at the SSG game last stage, we played the same map in playoffs, and we had 2 4 versus 2s and 1 5 versus 2, and we lost them all. How does that happen? Simply due to us stressing up the communication instead of showing the one thing we've been focusing on during this entire stage, which is composure.
Yeah, we touched on the pressure aspect for M80, and obviously thank you for bringing that up because that is a big factor that a lot of people at home don't really notice. That being said, you've coached EU, you've coached APAC, you're coaching M80. It's been a year so far. So what would you say is the best part about coaching this NA team, and how does it differ from the other regions?
Obviously, we can start with PSG because that was the most recent one. It's pretty big of a difference, obviously, because the players here are way more experienced. Even if we have young players like D that haven't played for that long, or even Gav hadn't been to play that for that long, they are more knowledgeable about the basics of the game and just how to play their own spots, which then leads into it being much easier to work with them and saying like, hey, this is your spot, master it, learn how to play with it. And then they will come with ideas and they will come with new ways of innovating the positions, whilst that would never happen in Korea. If I didn't tell them, you're doing this, that's your job. And then I had to fix every single adaptation and then kind of print it into their heads. That's how they would understand things. So it was more of top-down control, whereas here with M80, the guys are, first of all, they bought into the culture really well that I want to have in a team. I think that success is something that you have over a long time. You breed success through your work ethic, being professional, showing up on time, putting your effort in every single round. If you win a map 11-0 in practice, then you rehost for the 12th round because you're supposed to practice 12 rounds. It's about putting in all these concepts of how to be professional and what expectations we have on ourselves. And if we raise our bar of what we expect every single day of ourselves in practice, then long term that will grow into success for the team on the server as well in officials.
That was quite the insight, Fabian. And obviously, brother, it's always a pleasure to see you. And obviously, a flawless stage, man. That obviously is a part of your doing as well as you're saying to the teams. I kind of just wanted your perspective, similar to what Fox was asking. What have you learned now coming into NA, being in this area, being in this region versus, your dominance in EU, what that was like, whether that was playing, coaching, whatever that is. I'm just curious now what you're taking away from being in the NAL and just having this experience as a coach.
I don't know if it's much different from any other region, all regions will have different sort of play styles within themselves that they then kind of take us over to the international events. All three of, Ginny, you haven't played that many events, but there are three of us here that aren't Ginny, we have. And you guys know just as much that I don't think you've been a Siege professional, have you?
Why am I catching strays? No,
No, exactly. So every single region, they will have their own playstyle. Right. And we know that because there's going to be aggression from Brazil. There's going to be more slow pace from NA. I don't know if that's so much truth to that anymore. I think that all regions have kind of sped up the gameplay and a lot more aggression, a lot more mechanical skills. I don't think that there's too much difference between the regions or even the people. In the end, it's all little shit kids playing a video game that haven't grown up because they've never had a real job. So it's about bashing in those professionalisms into them. Because I think that there's very few people that actually know what it takes to work a real job. Some guys here, they will end up in a warehouse work or at Mackey's flipping burgers when they're done with their careers. And they are going to regret that they weren't professionals when they were playing. So in the end, it all comes down from those older guys, the experienced guys, to teach them, hey, work your ass off because you're going to regret it when you're done if you don't do it. And that doesn't change region to region.
I completely agree. We've been talking about all the things that you've brought to the team, the culture you've helped instill. But have any of the players' personalities rubbed off on you? Have you started acting
he's
a little
definitely
bit
far
like
more.
some
I
of
think the
them?
marriage also made him far more tame than what he used to be. Monica has you.
Yeah. I'm on the wraps, you know. I'm not allowed to say certain words either, you know. Like getting married, it's just it keeps you on the wraps. You have to be controlled.
Well, at least someone can tame you.
If we look at it, yeah, someone can. But if we look at it realistically, the culture that I bring doesn't just come through me, right? It comes by the guys upholding it themselves every single day of work. Like I can't come here and tell you behave like this, and if they don't, it's not going to matter what I say because it's in the end, it's all in their own hands. So the big step up here isn't because of me. Sure, I can have brought it here and like introduce the idea to them, but in the end, it all comes back to them putting that effort in and them showing that they want to and that they believe in what I say.
As much as this has probably been one of the most interesting and insightful interviews that we have the entirety of the stage, we unfortunately do have to let you go. We still have a couple more questions, but just win a couple more times in playoffs, agree to do an interview, then we'll have a further conversation.
This is the one you're getting.
Okay. In that case, we're sticking around for another 30 minutes. I'm joking. I'm gonna let you go. Enjoy your evening. I can see you're probably in EU. Have a good night.
It's 3 a.m.
Yeah,
Thank
have
you
a
very
good
much.
night. Good luck with playoffs, and we'll see you around.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
See you later.
That was by far
That was the best
one of the best interviews. Yeah,
for
easy.
the
had in
whole
the
NAL. Stage 1 and Stage 2. You guys got to bring in more Europeans.
I think it's the fact of his experience, obviously, but
I mean, I don't disagree with what you said. I mean, watching some of the EML interviews versus some of the NA interviews, NA, you got a lot of things to learn. You should watch a few EML interviews and come with that sort of passion that Fabian brought.
But it's nice to have his interview, especially after an undefeated season. I think that was a little treat for all of us at home, just because of an amazing stage so far. And I love that he said that some teams join up, they have a honeymoon phase, everything seems to work, kind of like what we did after we dropped you. We had a really good run at SI with OXG once we picked up Sweater, but it didn't last, and that's what Fabian was looking for, is making it last.
Stage before that SI, that was horrible.
Right, and so did M80 in Stage 1. They didn't even make EWC, and they're trying to make it last now. And obviously, when it comes down to an undefeated season, it only has, I guess, green flags going into playoffs, hoping that we get to see the same type of consistency that they have, especially with the momentum behind them. Getting first place, I mean, wow, what a stage from M80 so far. Every start of the stage, we doubted them almost, saying, I don't know what we're going to see from M80.
Because that's the M80 classic.
Yeah, and the pressure, I'm glad he brought that up, because the pressure, we always talk about it with M80. They always got that pressure. And the people that watching at home are probably like, what are these guys saying on the desk? What pressure? You're playing video games. But I'm glad he brought that up, because M80 has always had that immense pressure. A lot of the players have crumbled on it, but now finally they're able to surpass that.
Yeah, and they also get a 7-0 way to end the entire regular stage heading into playoffs. But the results that we've had today have been quite perplexing, and some of them with DZ particularly losing that matchup. I don't think anybody expected that, but somehow they still get the freebie.
I mean, Fox said it was going to be a standby game. I said I wouldn't be surprised if standby won, just given how DZ looked. And going back to a very default map of Clubhouse, I mean, I don't think that comes to a surprise. But I would say, honestly, the biggest letdown for me was that Cloud9 wildcard matchup. I thought for sure Cloud9 was going to put up a lot more of a fight, especially on their attacking half, where we gave them praise. They were the best in the league, and to not show anything from that was definitely a little heartfelt.
Yeah, and that's actually where we also get the Black Light detail from when it comes to that wildcard C9 matchup, because Dream is the one to give it to his name.
Yeah, bittersweet moment for him to have such an amazing round. I would say he had a really good map as well, but they ended up falling out in the end. I don't think the Chalet pick was a good one, but for Dream, comfortability-wise, we're in the wall a little bit, but Dream, look at him moving through the map. He gets 2 first picks, players playing around the closet area. He hears the footsteps, turns around, amazing shot for him to get the 3rd one, and then nice little shots through the wall to clean up the 4th one. I mean, Dream's always one of those players in the clutch situations. If he's in a Hell in the Cell on the Maestro, I mean, obviously he was there on the Denari. He's one of those players that you can never count out, and he's so good, but he also takes so much responsibility on his shoulders of being that leader, always being the support. He never really has moments to shine, so it's nice to see a moment where he does shine. Fortunately, it's with them not making playoffs.
Yeah, a bit of a send-off for C9, but we're going to have a look at the standings as well to give you guys a little bit of a refresher in regards to the teams that are going to be moving forward to playoffs. It is going to be the top 6 teams, so that's M80, OXG, Shopify, SSG, Wildcard, and Dark Zero. Unfortunately for Envy, regardless of the fact that they have improved so much over this last stage, That round difference is really what did them in, and with that they play 7th, meaning they are out of playoffs contention. Standby LFO as well as Team Cruelty are going to be playing for relegation because they have not gathered enough points throughout the last 2 stages to be safe with that.
Yeah, I will say I am very happy with the 7th, 8th, and 9th place teams. Every team stepped up when they needed to. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't make it into playoffs. Even Standby into these last few play days definitely showed a lot, especially coming from Bino and then the rest of the team. And then Cloud9, again, on very unfortunate circumstances. I mean, we started the stage, didn't look too great, but then they started finding their stride. Then they were getting those wins, impressive wins to say the least. Just couldn't manage to get it done today. And then for Envy, another heartfelt loss. I mean, they were so close. 1 point is what separated them from being in the top 6. All their hard work to be making it into playoffs, just falling short to that OXG matchup. But I don't think we're done seeing them by any means.
Yeah, and we have the bracket ready as well for those of you at home who are wondering what that's going to be looking like. SSG against Wildcard, SRDZ. You have that lower bracket, so, there is a little bit of a safety net, but you want to get to that Munich major as quickly as possible.
Of course, there's room for error, but for OXG and M80, obviously they only have to play 1 game to be able to advance and make to the Munich major. All of these games will be good. I'm assuming everyone's going to have their favorites going into it. For me personally, I don't know if this is a hot take to say, I don't believe Dark Zero really deserves this spot in the playoffs, with how they've been playing. So I really hope they don't squander this opportunity, use this week of a break up until playoffs to really batten down the hatches and turn a new leaf and hopefully play a lot better and use the spot with grace, because I wish we would have seen Envy playing here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the game I'm looking forward to, is that Shopify Rebellion versus Dark Zero, just for the simple fact both these teams are still struggling. Shopify Rebellion struggling on their attacks, where Dark Zero, similar area, but also on some players just not being able to find their stride. So it really is going to come down to obviously being in the best 3, being able to shake off whoever loses that first map and carry it and fix it into map 2, and then obviously going into then map 3. But again, that's where you want to find yourself. You want to be in these best of 3s, because as we know, best of 1s, they suck. You have to be perfect that day. Now every team has a lifeline and then can bring it into the very next match.
Should we do predictions on who you think's going to win?
No, we're going to keep that. We're going to keep that for next week, okay? We're not doing that today, because we are done here for the final day of regular stage. Super Week is done and dusted, and we're going to be back with the playoffs on the 8th of October. That is not next week. It's the week after that. So for those of you at home, make sure you mark that in your calendars, because we're going to be bringing a best of 3 siege your way. But until then, take care.